show about what's making news and how the news is made, and so much to get through this week.
Oh, wow. What a week it has been. A huge grand final weekend, of course, and the result was the defeat of the Hawks, the Bulldogs and the Parrots.
Oh, now, hang on. That's not a very good photo of Jones. I'm with Andrew Bolt on this one. He said it is unfair to deliberately use unflattering photos of Alan Jones.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Do we have a more appropriate photo of Jones?
Yeah, that's the one.
That's better.
Now, look, this whole Jones shitstorm began on the weekend when the Sunday Telegraph broke the shocking news that people are willing to spend $100 to listen to Alan Jones.
Unbelievable. And this is the kind of wisdom they got for their money. Within minutes, the tut-tutting from the outrage brigade could be heard across the nation. So Jones rushed to make a personal apology to the PM.
Yes, well, I have tried to contact Prime Minister Gillard. I rang the lodge and there was no one there.
Now, that is totally true. He rang the lodge. He did leave a message expressing how he felt as well.
Jesus, I hope someone understands how fucking irritated I am by this. And I don't give a fuck. I'm not doing this again. I don't see where my life should be made a fucking misery. I mean, this is absolutely ludicrous.
It's gracious, isn't it? Now, soon after, Jones did offer an explanation in his 45-minute press conference. He described his joke as...
A sort of a black parody.
Now, no, Alan, you're clearly a bit muddled here. See, this is a black parody.
Can you feel it?
That's your classic straight up and down black parody there. What you did was your more typical insensitive takedown of a dead person, what's otherwise known in the business as doing a chaser.
Yes. But Jones saw his joke as less in the chaser tradition and more in the tradition of, courageous, heroic Anzacs.
When I've rethought all this today, I mean, in the trenches at Gallipoli, I mean, people made these black humoured comments about death.
Yes, he's absolutely right about that. The war archives bear him out.
Oh, God help us. Still, I'd rather be getting shot at by Turks than stuck at some dinner listening to that prick Alan Jones.
Now, pretty soon, Jones's apology was drawing just as much criticism as the original comment, and I think this commentator probably summed the apology up best.
All crap, no substance.
Yes, he's good, that guy.
But then, of course, the rot set in. All week, sponsors have been dropping left, right and centre, if 2GB had a left or a centre. But among the first sponsors to go, of course, was Mercedes-Benz. Now, to put that in historical perspective, they did not even pull their support from the Nazis.
Yeah.
They didn't. Opposition leader Tony Abbott, on the other hand, stood firmly by his man, declaring that he won't boycott the Alan Jones show.
Look, I'm not in the business of ignoring a big audience. My job every day is to reach out to the people of Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. Abbott would never say no to an audience.
We have invited the opposition leader, Tony Abbott, to join us. So far, he's declined.
And we did try to get Tony Abbott on the program this morning.
Despite consistent requests this year, he hasn't agreed to do an interview with us.
Meanwhile, online, the opposition to Jones continues to snowball with over 100,000 people signing the online petition to have Jones sacked.
I mean, as if Jones would care about those pissy numbers. I mean, all last week, he was running his own internet polls, substantial ones that no one could ignore.
We're talking this week about democracy. Today, it's after that amazing result yesterday, over 10,000 people, which on an internet poll is phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Oh, yes. But look, by yesterday morning, Jones was back on the airwaves, and 2GB, of course, was bracing for a listener backlash. And the callers, well, they just unloaded.
God bless you, Alan. You are absolutely wonderful, and you hold your head high.
You're our voice. You're there for us.
Well, the nicest man I think I know.
She doesn't know a lot of people. Alone for 40 years. Just with her wireless.
Locked in a room with a wireless that won't change channel.
But I think it was the caller Irene yesterday who identified the historical precedent for Jones's predicament.
During the Second World War, the Germans, with their blitzkrieg, targeted Buckingham Palace. They were after the Queen Mother because if they could get rid of her, the heart and spirit of the nation would be broken. Now, Alan, they're not going to break our heart and our spirit, and all your followers love you.
Yeah, that is a good point. I think that is a completely apt analogy. Alan Jones is really just a queen under siege.
Took us a while. We got a clean joke out there, didn't we? Everyone was timing that. How long?
Well, it's been a tough week for Alan. He's lost plenty of sponsors, so we thought we'd raise some money for him. We don't have a chaff bag jacket, unfortunately, so we thought we'd auction off a jacket made of London public toilet paper.
Please visit our website to register your bid. Thank you very much, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew.
I'll tell you what, speaking of secret recordings, Alan Jones, as you know, used to be a footy coach, and he is a big believer in the role that a coach can play. But as this secretly recorded footage reveals, his coach was not too happy with Jones's performance after Sunday's press conference.
Alan, what the fuck was that?
An apology from me.
45 minutes, that's what the fuck that was. Even Rob fucking Oakshot's joking about how long that took. I said go out there, say sorry unreservedly, then go. But somewhere between I'm and sorry, you managed to squeeze in the carbon tax, peak butts and East fucking Timor. And what the fuck was this?
And you go up to Oxford Street, and I've illustrated this 1,000 times, they're boarded up, the small shops are closed because you can't park.
Oh, sorry for insulting the Prime Minister's dead father, but I'm worried about the parking on Oxford Street. For fuck's sake, Alan, I might be going out on a limb here, but I don't think Struggle Street is worried that you can't get a park on Oxford Street.
Dubbed the social media games.
The man dubbed Sydney's Facebook killer, unofficially dubbed the Ranger Convention,
Dubbed the UK's Martha Stewart.
Dubbed the Fluoro Bandit.
dubbed the Ship of Death,
Dubbed the Green Pope. Dubbed the Paddle Pop Thieves.
In the city where anything's possible and dreams really can come true, comes a new reality show about the audition of a lifetime. 10 young women compete for Hollywood's ultimate prize in Scientologist Wants a Wife.
I'm young, I'm thin, I'm tall, but not so tall that I make Tom look like that dwarf from Game of Thrones.
They'll be put through their paces in the church's most comprehensive wife search yet.
What is your favourite movie?
Top Gun.
I said, what is your favourite movie?
Advanced Dianetics, increasing your thetan power.
Looking for the perfect missus who not only knows what to say,
No, Tom, I thought Eyes Wide Shut was a really good film.
but also what to think.
How do you feel about silent birth? Silent life? Silence on the question of your husband's sexuality? Well done, you are through to the next round.
It's the ultimate personality test. 10 single women.
I promise I'll never look him in the eye.
One special but slightly bonkers man.
I promise not to give our child a normal name.
Scientologist Wants a Wife.
I promise to never make jokes about his performance in Cocktail.
Coming soon. Church denials coming sooner.
Yeah, welcome back to Inside the Wheel.
Now, this week, Australia reached a little milestone.
2,355 people have turned up in 35 boats during September, the largest number of arrivals in a month on record.
Not that you'd have heard about it under all the Alan Jones coverage, especially here at the ABC, where our bosses have been absolutely relentless.
Oh, boy, you know. But we thought we'd review some of the solutions that are on the table for boat people, because these asylum seekers are scary folks.
Boat people in our backyard.
Fears a new wave of asylum seekers could spread a deadly disease.
The Gillard government has been accused of rolling out the welcome mat for asylum seekers who've been acting like pirates.
Yeah, diseased pirates. I mean, I can understand why voters are so frightened of these asylum seekers. I found one in my backyard.
Arr! I be spreading AIDS in your backyard! It is a very complicated issue, though. There's those pushing for onshore processing, there's those pushing for offshore processing, and there's those who advocate both at once.
I personally believe in onshore processing, but it costs lives and it was wrong.
I completely agree with you, Paul, but I completely disagree.
Now, the offshore proponents say we need to discourage refugees from coming here in the first place. But how?
Well, the government's solution is to do this.
You need to send a strong message.
They're going to send a strong message to people smugglers by telling them that an unknown number of people from maybe some particular backgrounds is subject to being sent to Nauru from time to time for some potential duration.
It's a very strong message. Such a strong message, the government has even put it on signs all around Australia's maritime border. Arr, that'd be a strong message. Arr.
But not a strong performance.
No.
But look, I mean, since they reopened Nauru, there have been... It's all right, you'll get over it.
No, it's not.
Since they've reopened Nauru, there have been all kinds of concerns about the conditions there. I mean, after all, everyone knows asylum seekers are accustomed to living like kings.
Inside Australia's refugee resorts, all expenses paid, 5-star living with all the perks.
Welcome to Asylum Seeker Town, where the refugees are living better than the locals.
They were very luxurious-looking bars those refugees were locked behind, I thought, but I don't know why people are whinging about Nauru in the first place. It sounds awesome. You get to stay in overcrowded tents in the heat. It's like Splendour in the Grass, except you don't have to listen to shit Aussie hip-hop.
They are living better than us.
They are. Anyway, the opposition solution is to turn the boats back, but the government is very opposed to this.
I am not going to risk the lives of young Australians on a policy that won't work.
Which must be particularly frustrating for the person who advocated that policy.
We think that it is important that we do everything we can to disrupt people smuggling, and we think turning boats around that are seaworthy, that can make the return journey and are in international waters fits in with that.
Yeah, so Gillard's for turning the boats back and against turning back the boats.
Makes sense to me.
Yes, well, it's yet another strong message from Gillard. So much so they've had to put out more warning signs around our borders.
Meanwhile, Channel 7's been toying with their own solution, and that's to ignore the problem entirely.
Now, on the day that other networks covered 100 refugees dying from a capsized boat near Java, 7 News in Sydney just couldn't find room for it in their bulletin, and understandably so when they had this compelling scoop on Nathan Hindmarsh's arse.
While he cracked us up, sometimes he was guilty of letting fans see too much.
OK, sure, they did the arse story, but they also acknowledged the tragic loss.
He'll never get over that 2001 grand final loss.
Yeah, but the thing is, they didn't really ignore refugees, actually. Nathan Hindmarsh's arse is a world expert on them.
The anxiety-provoking nature of boat arrivals leaves asylum seekers arriving by aeroplane sadly underrepresented in the media. Sorry.
But look, even ignoring problems doesn't make them go away.
Arr! I ignored my terrible accent and it'd still be here! It's not getting any better.
Oh, what a shame you think there's a refugee problem. God, look at his acting. But don't despair, because one beautiful mind has engineered the ultimate solution, and it's known as the Henry solution.
Yeah. Paul Henry hit upon the idea that if you treat refugees worse than they're treated in war-torn dictatorships, they won't want to come to Australia. It's so easy.
First of all, he deals with the people smugglers.
We need to gun down these people that are promoting this.
Oh.
You know, we need to gun down these people smugglers. That's what we need to do.
Look, I know it sounds harsh, but he's talking about people smugglers there. They're the bad guys.
Yeah, no, they are. I mean, for the asylum seekers themselves, he has a much kinder approach.
If they knew that we were going to shoot them, say, and obviously we wouldn't do that, but if they knew that the moment they arrived in Australia, we were going to gun them down on the beaches, if they knew that was going to happen, they wouldn't get in the boat in the first place.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't. I mean, they also wouldn't get on the boat because the people smugglers have already been gunned down.
You might notice there, though, part of the Henry solution is to come up with these brilliant strategies and then add, obviously we're not going to do that, which is a great shame, because the solutions just go on and on.
Now, I know we would never do this, and I'm not condoning it, but if you saw women and children being whipped as they got offshore in Nauru, that is the kind of thing that sends a strong message as they're pushed into holes on Nauru.
Not as strong a message as it sends to your psychiatrist, Paul.
Yeah, but unfortunately, not everyone understands Paul's brilliance, like when he offered this innovative solution for refugee hunger strikes.
So I sit here listening to this thinking, let them starve. I know that's a very cruel thing to say.
You know, and people heard that and they thought it was a very cruel thing to say. So Paul returned the next day to tell them how mistaken they were.
People have interpreted my comments on breakfast yesterday morning regarding asylum seekers and hunger strikes inaccurately. Some people believe I was implying that asylum seekers on hunger strike should die. I'm genuinely sorry if I gave that impression.
Yeah, I just can't imagine how people might have gotten that impression.
There's nothing that sends a stronger message than a few asylum seekers dying of starvation.
I don't know, you know. Not that he thinks that should happen.
No, of course not. Look, but I can see how it was misunderstood, though. It's that thick New Zealand accent. You just listen to the apology again and pay attention, it does become clear.
I'm genuinely sorry if I gave that impression.
I meant to say that they should be gunned down while being whipped and pushed into holes where they can starve to death. Not that I think that should happen.
I tell you what, though, he's absolutely right, Paul Henry. He is. The problem we've got is we're too welcoming. We had 7,000 boat people turn up before August this year, and a number of them weren't real refugees.
And that makes Paul angry, so you can imagine how angry he must be that over 35,000 New Zealanders moved to this country for economic reasons over the same time period, and not one of them is a real refugee.
He must be furious about how much they cost Australia. Some of them cost literally $1 million each, and they provide absolutely no value to anyone. In fact, going off 10's ratings, the refugees in Nauru are seen by more people than Paul Henry just by being in their oversized tents. Tell you what, we need to send a strong message, I reckon, to these New Zealanders.
Not that we're condoning this.
An ordeal for those trapped, the children especially.
What was it like in there?
It was awesome! But scary.
There's a four-letter word that ends with a T that can change in an instant when shortened to 3. We can take off a letter, we can make it less long, or we can add letters to show where this advert belongs. And it works with other words too. Imagine a service that's free, but at the Commonwealth Bank, that'll turn into a fee. And my very own name could be shortened a tad to begin to explain why I agreed to this ad. But using me and a poem to sell a bank of this kind, well, there's no word for that. Oh, wait. One springs to mind.
I was sure they'd change can't to c***. No, this show's full of enough c***s already.
Now, look, it is the Vogue for the moment, so we do have to issue an apology at this point. Last week, we aired an obituary for Gina Reinhardt, and it turns out she's not actually dead.
She hadn't died. She hadn't died. That was Twitter's fault. Lesson learned. Lesson learned. Although I did just see that apparently Rupert Murdoch has died.
You're kidding. Okay, well,
do we have a standby obituary for Rupert
just
Murdoch?
in case, for your viewing pleasure, please enjoy the death of Rupert Murdoch.
Media mogul Rupert Murdoch, dead at last. Born in Melbourne, Murdoch was a proud American for tax purposes, but he always stayed connected with Australia, naming his least successful newspaper after it. Murdoch's father was a respected journalist, but young Rupert chose not to follow in his father's footsteps. Taking over the Adelaide News in 1952, he did the impossible and made people interested in news about Adelaide, but he soon went global.
He introduced the Page 3 girl to the Sun, and she became so popular that he did the same thing when he took over the Catholic Times. And Bacon Busters too.
Murdoch expanded his empire with even more strategic acquisitions in the UK as well as China. But his legacy was tainted forever by one part of his empire whose amoral practices debased all standards of acceptable journalism.
Fox News Channel.
The news of the world phone hacking scandal also ruined the reputation of a paper that had otherwise been a beacon of journalistic excellence. The scandal affected Murdoch deeply.
This is the most humble day of my life.
Which was true. I can't recall him being humble any other day.
Murdoch's death today comes as a surprise. Just days ago, doctors described his condition as fair and balanced, even though clearly it wasn't. But in the end, Rupert Murdoch passed away due to poor circulation. Efforts to revive him digitally failed. News Corp papers today confirmed Rupert Murdoch's passing after Sarah Murdoch got the initial announcement wrong.
This is what happens when you have live TV, folks. I'm so sorry.
Reactions to Murdoch's death have been mixed.
He dined with the prime ministers and presidents. Girls fell in love with him. Boys fell in love with him. Everyone wanted to dance like him.
The BBC was typically restrained.
It's a great day for democracy.
While others were less forthcoming.
I have no knowledge of that. I have no knowledge of that at this point.
Now, the big question is who will succeed Rupert Murdoch?
The job is expected to go to Lachlan Murdoch.
To Elizabeth Murdoch. To Bradley John Murdoch. To Murdoch from the A-Team.
To an experienced media executive from outside the family who wins the job on merit. But first, Rupert Murdoch must be laid to rest here tomorrow. The family has asked the media to respect their privacy and their hypocrisy.
Today in number 9 on Sunday, they are going to paint the town blue. Hey, mate. Easy.
I don't know how they find the gap and get to the line. I don't know how they can play at all with me standing in the way. But with 4 generations of betting knowledge in my blood, I know what punters want. And I'm pretty sure it's this. The only thing more stupid than walking in front of horses is betting on them.
It's the most important thing ever.
More than just a game's at stake in 7 days' time.
It'll change the whole of New South Wales, to be honest.
And no one loves sport more than newsreaders.
To be honest, 7 series in a row. It's been a while for you.
They even choose teams for the Arab-Israeli conflict.
The news covers both kinds of sport, men's and women's.
But not all female athletes are ignored by the media. This one received plenty of attention.
But whatever sport the media's covering, the normal rules do not apply. Usually in interviews, reporters ask questions, but in sport reporting, they ask statements instead.
Yeah, look, it wasn't your best performance.
Funny things happened in prelims, and they certainly took it up to you.
Sirioli, he won crucial one-on-ones in that last 5 minutes.
In fact, sports reporters can get through life without ever asking a question.
Well, a very romantic situation for you today. Obviously, you'll be hoping to come out of this with a ring.
You don't even need to follow the rule of interviewing the real people. Just get one of your mates to stand in for them.
You be Brett Ratton, and I'll ask the questions. Brett, do you expect Sunday to be your last day coaching Carlton?
Is it, I think, what Brett's going to say, or what?
You are Brett.
Yes, I think Sunday will be my last game.
If they told you today, would you coach Sunday?
Yes, I would.
Why?
Well, I've invested 5 years in this group.
Do you think Mick Malthouse is undermining your position as Carlton coach?
Yeah, I do.
To determine how effective this technique is, we interviewed Barack Obama.
Mr. President, do you think a random bald man can fill in for any interview subject?
Another rule that doesn't apply is to do your live crosses in a quiet place.
And the message is the fans will have to find somewhere else to celebrate. And it won't be hard to find a party in Belmore.
But one rule of sports coverage that's never broken is it's all about winning.
Winning's so important to the media that during the Olympics, all they talked about was gold medals.
I've got a gold medal for you for being an Olympic con artist.
The Prime Minister gets the gold medal for both electricity price rises and hypocrisy.
Mate, you gold medal for stupidity, don't you?
He should win a gold medal for making money, I think.
We'll give you a gold medal for being an Olympic weasel.
If there was an Olympics for department stores, you're looking at the unbackable favourite for gold.
It's even spread to court reporting.
If there was an Olympics for alleged kiddie fiddling, Robert Hughes would be the alleged favourite for gold. Yep, Aussie sports coverage is all about venerating our victorious heroes.
This squad is hoping to win 20 medals when competition starts on Saturday.
Until they don't win.
They've been labelled fat, arrogant, distracted by celebrity and social media obsessed.
You bastard! This year's Olympics was a case study in losing. That's when sport coverage becomes about the next best thing to victory, blaming stuff.
Twitter cost me gold. C-bomb.
The swimmer who beat us.
The rising Chinese star, champion athlete or drug cheat?
Our coaches.
There was quite a bit of anger there. They blame the coaches.
Their coaches.
The Aussie Olympic coaches have won 14 gold medals for other countries.
Those 14 gold medals could have lifted Australia to 4th spot on the medal tally.
The mathematics works perfectly. If you're a fucking idiot.
Sorry, back to the blame.
Crowd!
A fan yelled out just before the start. The Australians claim it cost Melanie Schlanger a medal.
Stripper poles!
Could a stripper pole have affected Stephanie Rice's injured shoulder?
The guy who built the pool!
How do you design a pool to make sure that every lane is the same length? I mean, what if his lane was a couple of millimetres longer?
The Gavin men!
Australian Olympic chief John Coates saying the federal government's at fault for not making school sport compulsory.
Kevin Rudd!
Mistakes in Australian sport were made many years ago, and I'm sorry, this is all part of the Rudd government.
But why stop at Kevin Rudd, Alan? What about the Australian people who voted him in?
What about Captain Cook, who brought them here on his boat?
And what about the people who invented boats? The ancient Cretans?
Finally, the culprits revealed.
But in the end, we can't win everything.
Which is why we should just stick to massive over-coverage of the one sport Australia can't lose it.
Aussie rules!
Ireland has secured the International Rules Series on the Gold Coast with another comprehensive win over Australia.
I blame stripper poles!
Did you enjoy it?
I did enjoy it, did you?
Yeah, I loved every minute.
First laugh, big laugh for the show right at the end. That's great. We just